That's good. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Aham Mevasham Mevagre Nayan Yat Satyasatparam Pasyaraham Yat Etapcha Yovashishyeta Somyaham. Aham Mevashyam Mevagre Nanyad Yat Sadasatparam Pasyaraham Yat Etapcha Yovashishyeta Somyaham. So the synonyms I will read now. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Asam, existed. Eva, only. Agre, before the creation. Na, never. Anyat, anything else. Yat, all those. Sat, the effect. Asat, the cause. Param, the supreme. Pascat, at the end. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Yat, all these. Etat, creation. Cha, also. Ya, everything. Avishyasya, avasyasta, avasyshyata, remains. Sa, that. Ashmi, I am. Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. The translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. The purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Can you move it up a little more? Okay. We should note very carefully that the personality of Godhead is addressing Lord Brahma and specifying with great emphasis himself, pointing out that it is he, the personality of Godhead, who existed before the creation. It is he only who maintains the creation, and it is he only who remains after the annihilation of the creation. Brahma is also a creation of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist put forth the theory of oneness in the sense that Brahma, also being the same principle of I, because he is an emanation from the I, the absolute truth, is identical with the Lord, the principle of I, and that there is thus nothing more than the principle of I, as explained in this verse. Accepting the argument of the impersonalists, it is to be admitted that the Lord is the creator I, and that Brahma is the created I. Therefore, there is a difference between the two I's, namely the predominator I and the predominated I. Therefore, there are still two I's, even accepting the argument of the impersonalist. But we must note carefully that these two I's are accepted in the Vedic literature in the Katha Upanishad in the sense of quality. The Katha Upanishad says, Nityo Nityanam Chaitana Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kukamam. The creator I and the created I are both accepted in the Vedas as qualitatively one, because both of them are nityas and chaitanas. But the singular I is the creator I, and the created eyes are of plural number because there are many eyes, like Brahma and those generated by Brahma. It is the simple truth. The Father creates or begets a son, and the Son also creates many other sons, and all of them may be one as human beings, but at the same time, from the Father, the Son, and the grandsons are all different. The Son cannot take the place of the Father, nor can the grandsons. Simultaneously, the Father, the Son, and the grandson are one and different also. As human beings, they are one, but as relativities, they are different. Therefore, the relativities of the Creator and the created, or the predominator and the predominated, have been differentiated on in the Vedas by saying that the predominator I is the feeder or the predominated eyes of the predominated eyes. And thus there is a vast difference between the two principles of I. And another feature of this verse, no one can deny the personalities of both the Lord and Brahma. Therefore, in the ultimate issue, both the predominator and the predominated are persons. This conclusion refutes the conclusion of the impersonalists that in the ultimate issue everything is impersonal. This impersonal feature stressed by the less intelligent impersonalist school is refuted by pointing out that the predominator I is the absolute truth, and that he is a person. The predominated I, Brahma, is also a person, but he's not the absolute. For realization of oneself in spiritual psychology, it may be convenient to assume oneself to be the same principle as the absolute truth. But here in this verse, which is grossly misused by the impersonalists, Brahma is factually seeing face to face his predominator Lord, who exists in his transcendental eternal form, even after the annihilation of the material creation. The form of the Lord, as seen by Brahma, existed before the creation of Brahma, and the material manifestation with all of the ingredients and agents of material creation are also energetic expansions of the Lord. And after the exhibition of the Lord's energy comes to a close, what remains is the same personality of Godhead. Therefore, the form of the Lord exists in all circumstances of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. The Vedic hymns confirm this fact in the statement of Vasudeva Vaida Magra Sinna Brahmana Cha Sankara Eko Narayana Sinna Brahmane Shana. Before the creation, there was none except Vasudeva. There was neither Brahma nor Shankara. Only Narayan was there and no one else. Neither Brahma nor Ishan. Sripad Shankaracharya also confirms in his comments on the Bhagavad Gita that Narayana, or the personality of Godhead, is transcendental to all creation, but that the whole creation is a product of avyakta. Therefore, the difference between the created and the creator is always there, although both the creator and the created are of the same quality. The other feature of the statement is that the supreme truth is Bhagavan, or the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead and his kingdom have already been explained. The kingdom of God is not void as conceived by the impersonalists. Vaikuntha planets are full of transcendental variegatedness, including the four-handed residents of those planets, with great opulence of wealth and prosperity. And there are even airplanes and other anemones required for high-grade personalities. Therefore, the personality of Godhead exists before the creation, and he exists with all transcendental variegatedness in the Vaikuntha lokas. The Vaikuntha lokas also accepted the Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana nature, are not annihilated even after the annihilation of the manifest cosmos. Those transcendental planets are of a different nature together, and that nature is not subjected to the natural rules and regulations of material existence, of material creation, maintenance, or annihilation. The existence of the personality of Godhead implies the existence of the Vaikuntha lokas, as the existence of a king implies the existence of a kingdom. In various places in Srimad Bhagavatam and in other revealed scriptures, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2:18-10, Maharaj Parika asks, Sa chapiyatra purusho vishwasati uba vapyaya mukta ma mayam mayesha sete sarva duhashayan. How does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy and is controller of the same, lie in everyone's hearts? How does he do that? Similar also is a question of Viduras. Tatvanam bhagavam stesham kitilaha patisankrama tatrimam eva upasiram kausvedanu sarate. This is from the Bhagavatam. It's Bhagavan. Wait a minute. Where did I skipped here? So this is also. Can we skip down? Come back down just a little. Yeah. So stop. So the question was, how does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy, and is the controller in the same, lie in everyone's heart? So then they're giving a quotation from Bhagavatam from a previous chapter 737 in the third canto. Tattvanam bhagavam stesham katidaha patisankrama tatrimam ka upasiram ka usvedanu sarate. So Sridhar Swami explains this in his notes. During the annihilation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on the sesha, etc., this means that the transcendental Lord, with all his name, fame, quality, and paraphernalia, exists eternally. The same confirmation is also in the Kasi Ukanda of the Skanda Purana, in connection with Dhruva Charita. It is said there, Na chanvante piyad bhakta mahatyam palayadupadi atto chuta kile loke saikasar vagovyayaha. Even the devotees of the personality of Godhead are not annihilated during the period of the entire annihilation of the world. Not to speak of the Lord himself. The Lord is ever existent in all three stages of material exchange. The impersonalist adduces no activity in the Supreme, but in this discussion between Brahma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is said to have activities also, as he has his form and quality. The activities of Brahma and other but discuss and other demigods during the maintenance of the creation are to be understood as the activities of the Lord. The king or the head executive of a state may not be seen in the government offices, for he may be engaged in royal comforts. Yet it should be understood that everything is being done under his direction and everything is at his command. The personality of Godhead is never formless. In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless. But actually, he is always in his eternal form, in his Vaikuntha planets as well as in other planets of the universes as different incarnations. The example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. The sun in the night may not be visible to the eyes of men in the darkness, but the sun is visible wherever it has risen. That the sun is not visible to the eyes of the inhabitants of a particular part of the earth does not mean that the sun has no form. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 1.4.1, there is a hymn, Atmaivahadam Magrasit Purushavida. This mantra indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, even before the appearance of the Purusha's incarnation. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:18, it is said that Lord Krishna is Purushottam because he is the Supreme Purusha, transcendental even to the Purusha Akshara and the Purusha Shakara. The Aksara Purusha, or the Mahavishnu, throws his glance over the Prakriti, or material nature, but the Purushottama existed even before that. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad therefore confirms the statement of the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama. In some of the Vedas, it is also said that in the beginning only the impersonal Brahman existed. However, according to this verse, the impersonal Brahman, which is the glowing effulgence of the body of the Supreme Lord, may be called the immediate cause. But the immediate cause of all causes are the remote cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord's impersonal feature is the existence in the material world, because by material senses one can expect to see or perceive the Supreme Lord. But he's always engaged in his personal capacity, and he is eternally visible to the inhabitants of Vaikuntha Loka, face to face. Therefore, he is materially impersonal, just as the executive head of the state may be impersonal in the government offices, although he is not impersonal in the government house. Similarly, the Lord is not impersonal in his Similarly, the Lord is not impersonal in his abode, which is always nirasta kuhakam, as stated in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam. Therefore, both the impersonal and personal features of the Lord are acceptable, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. This personality of Godhead is very emphatically explained in the Bhagavad Gita in connection with the verse Brahmano hi patisthaham, that is 1427. Therefore, in all ways, confidential part of the spiritual knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead and not his impersonal Brahman feature. One should therefore have his ultimate aim of realization not in the impersonal feature, but in the personal feature of the absolute truth. The example of the sky within the pot and the sky outside of the pot may be helpful to the student for this realization of the all-pervading quality of the cosmic consciousness of the absolute truth. But that does not mean only that the conditioned soul is a victim of illusory energy in her last snare. To claim to be one with the cosmic consciousness of the Lord is the last trap set by the illusory energy or Devi Maya, even in the impersonal existence of the Lord. As it is in the material creation, one should aspire for personal realization of the Lord. And that is the meaning of Paskalaham Yat Atakcha Yovai Sishyetiso Smiham. Brahmaji also accepted the same truth when he was instructing Narada. He said, Soyam te vihitas tatva bhagavan vishwa bhavanaha. This is from the second canto, 750. There is no other cause of all causes than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari. Therefore, this verse, Aham Meva, never indicates anything other than the Supreme Lord, and one should, therefore, follow the path of the Brahma Sampradaya, or the path from Brahma to Narada, to Vyasadeva, etc., and make it a point in life to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, or Lord Krishna. This very confidential instruction to the pure devotees of the Lord was also given to Arjuna and to Brahma in the beginning of creation. Demigods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Vishnu, Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are undoubtedly different forms of the Lord for execution. Different forms of the Lord for execution of different functions. The different elemental ingredients of material creation, as well as the multifarious energies, also may be of the same personality of Godhead. But the root of all of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna. One should be attached to the root of everything rather than bewildered by the branches and leaves. One should be attached to the root of everything rather than be bewildered by the branches and leaves. That is the instruction given in this verse. Okay, so quite an intensive, quite an intensive prelude there. So, just a few things before starting. So, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he was protected by Lord Krishna via Brahma Vivarta Purana. You can find this in the Brahma Vivarta Purana. And therefore, he is known as Brahmarata. Brahmarata. That's Sukadeva Goswami, another name. And Maharaj Parika was protected by Vishnu. So he's known as Vishnurata. Vishnurata, protected by Krishna. And as devotees of the Lord, they're always protected by the Lord. So it's clear also in this connection that a Vishnu Rata should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Brahma Rata and no one else, because others misrepresent the transcendental knowledge and thus spoil one's very valuable time. So we had quite a lengthy purport, and that purport, is like would be going on, and then suddenly everything is pointing back to Krishna, everything's pointing back to Krishna. And to try to understand from anyone else other than Krishna, Prabhupada says, thus spoil one's valuable time. With there was a beautiful descriptions of the inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets, and they were described as having a glowing sky bluish complexion, and that their eyes resembled lotus flowers, and their dresses a yellowish color, and their bodily features are very attractive, and they're just the age of a growing youth. In other words, they don't get old. They all have 4 hands, and they're nicely decorated with pearl necklaces with different ornaments. And it's explained that the 4-handed is not for human beings. Brahma has 4 hands, and above him in the spiritual world, all the inhabitants have exactly the form like Vishnu. So you can't discover, you go there, you don't distinguish who is Vishnu, who is ordinary living being, with one exception, Vishnu. He has a special feature on his chest, and by seeing that, he's recognized by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. So the inhabitants of Vishnu Loka, they're all personalities with spiritual bodily features that are not found in the material world. Prabhupada was commenting on these descriptions, and he said that 4-hand is not for the human beings. Brahma has got 4 hands, and above him, the spiritual world, they all have these forms exactly by Vishnu, but you can't distinguish who is Vishnu. And of course, there is that one feature on the chest of each Vishnu, which is that transcendental hair. So by seeing that, he's recognized by the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. Otherwise, she'd also be confused. And so this was like everyone was like this in such a yuga. It's just such a beautiful situation. But then in Kali Yuga, things were degrading and degrading. And Prabhupada was commenting how leather was used for shoes, but now taking the skin of some animal nowadays, it's become a fashion, like fur, cow skin dress, leather dress. They have like taken this form of a dress that has resulted from the form of, resulted from killing animals as an advancement of civilization. And Maya grasta, too much materially covered. And they're thinking, oh, this is nice. Just like right now, I'm having to find another car. My car got totaled. And so I put a description and here's what I want. And somebody calls me and they're telling me everything is here and even more. I said, what is that more? Oh, leather seats. I'm like, oh my God, I want to sit on a dead cow. So I said, no, thank you. So Prabhupada was, like in the 12th canto, there's this descriptions of what it's like in Kali Yuga. So one is Lavanyam Keshadaranam. Prabhupada was saying, before I came to your country, I was thinking, what is this Keshadaranam? Kesha means hair. And he said, as soon as I came to your country, I saw the hippies, big hair. Keshadaranam. It is predicted. So everything that we're experiencing in a, say, a perverse way, negative way, aspects of Kali Yuga that are all predicted, they're all there, and they're all there in the Bhagavatam. Every day we are reading of some new calamity, and we're thinking, oh, what's next? You don't have to look to the news for what's next. Pick up the Bhagavatam; it's all there. And we are extremely fortunate. Sometimes we hear that a lot. We're fortunate. And we're like, oh, now what? Are we fortunate? But yes, we are fortunate. This movement is not sectarian. It's not a sectarian religious movement. It's a practical movement to bestow essential knowledge of life to the human society. So you can say religion is a kind of faith, but faith can be changed. But the knowledge which is essential in life cannot be changed. And this is culture. This culture, although it appears like a religious system, is the essential knowledge of life. The religion or faith can change from one to another, but you must know the essential value of life. So we're coming to this Shatru Sloki, said in the 11th canto, this Krishna Varnam to Sakrishnam Sankopankastra Parsadam Yadnai Sankirtana Prayar Yazantihi Sumadea Saha, said in Kali Yuga, intelligent man worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we just recently, less than about 2 weeks ago, we observed the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's always accompanied by his associates such as Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, and Srivas. Tomorrow, the appearance day of Srivas. So this entire Krishna conscious movement is based on the principles of the Sankirtan movement inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, anyone who tries to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of Sankirtan movement knows everything perfectly. That's our filter, the Sankirtan movement. Therefore, he is Sumedasa, that means a person with substantial knowledge. So this Shatru Sloki, which now today we were reading, this is the first one, 4, Shatru 4. You could say it's a condensed context, an overview, that which can be heard or read, and then later you can come back for further study. In the Bhagavad Gita also, there is these 4 points, Shatru Slokis, 10th chapter, 8 through 11. Krishna says he's going to speak the most confidential knowledge, and it ends with Arjun saying, now I am enlightened. So these 4 verses encapsulate the 4 verses from the Gita, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, the essence of the Gita. So the Srimad Bhagavatam has various conversations going on at various levels. So in the Gita, we have the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Other people are mentioned, but like a background, it's basically Krishna and Arjuna. It starts out with a conversation between the two, and then it is Krishna speaking to enlighten Arjuna. So in the Bhagavatam, there's various conversations going on at different levels. In the first canto, you've got the sages of Namasharanya, and you've got Sutta Goswami. That's the outermost conversation. And then the second conversation, which is more definitive, is between Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. And this conversation it begins in the second canto in the 19th verse. Parikshit's main question: what is the duty of a man about to die? And it's been answered in summary in the second set of questions that begin in this 9th chapter. So this chapter is narrating the events that occur in one day in the life of Lord Brahma. So we can say that Bhagavatam is transcendental, at the same time it's chronological. And then subsequent creations, the Rudras, the Kumaras, the sages, and then what happens during the various Manus is also described, like in a quick overview. And then from the 3rd canto to the end of the 7th canto, describe what goes on with the life of Swayambhur Manu. And then from the 8th canto towards onwards, it's the life of the current Manu. So the current Manu, it's described there. And this is Vivaswata Manu. who is also referred to as Shraddha Deva and Satyavrata. That's the current Manu. And the progenitor, he is the progenitor of the human race. He's the seventh in the line of 14 Manus of the current Kalpa. He's the son of Vishwasan, also known as Surya, the sun god, Vivaswan, also known as Surya, the sun god, and his wife Sharanyu. So it can be said, in a sense, that Bhagavatam is like a transcendental biography of the universe, with all of the events being described. It's like a blueprint for human life to follow, how to live. Physically, metaphysically, Brahma was born in darkness. Who am I? Where am I? What am I to do? And he performed austerities. And then the Lord appeared in front of him. Otherwise, he wasn't seeing him, but he was hearing him from within. The Lord was instructing him from within. So the Lord appeared in front of Brahma, and Brahma was offering prayers. And then in the midst of those prayers, the Lord comes forward and he shakes hands with Brahmaji. So this handshaking is a way of expressing affection. I think in the last class I gave, this was mentioned, this handshaking. Mostly we're putting our two hands together and bowing our heads slightly. And generally, the devotees are looking at handshaking as something, maybe even muchi, you're touching somebody's hand, and maybe dirty or whatever. But actually, here is the Lord being pleased with Brahma, being pleased with his prayers, and he comes forward. He suddenly reveals himself face to face, eye to eye, and he shakes hands with Brahma. So this handshaking, it's a way of expressing affection, you know. So towards the conclusion of his prayers, Brahmaji starts asking more questions. My Lord, you're transcendental. How do you manifest in a form that is visible to my eyes? Like now he wants to know more. And how is it that you are visible to my eyes? How do you manifest all the different energies whereby creation takes place? And how can I act in this material world so that I can be an instrument of your will? Very important question. And then he takes it further. How can I, acting in this world as an instrument for your service, how can I avoid becoming proud? How can I avoid pride? He didn't want to fall into the pit of sense gratification. Actually, the Christians, we just yesterday we were observing the appearance of Lord Christ, and the Christians see pride as the greatest enemy, the greatest impediment towards spiritual progress. Sometimes it's said, Christ came to kill pride. You know. So the Lord is replying in 7 verses. He replied. This was referred to by Vallabha Acharya as Sapta Shloki, 7 verses. But our Acharyas, they take the 4 essential verses as the essence and the preceding 3 in introduction, but without the instructive narrative. So for us, the essence of Chatra Shloki and Brahmaji's life is a foreshadow of our own. We're all born in darkness of ignorance. We too are meant to be enlightened. In following enlightenment, we're also intended to act as the Lord's instruments, just as that famous prayer that's attributed to Saint Francis. Actually, it's a more recent rendering, but it describes perfectly well the mood of the holy saint. So many times his prayers, it's mentioned, are recited by devotees. Just like, anyway, that prayers, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And when there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. So this is a beautiful prayer. Many devotees, they like to recite this prayer, remember this prayer. Krishna tells Arjuna in the 11th chapter to become his instrument. And the fact is, human will is founded in the divine will. So by striving to fulfill Krishna's will, we bring out the best in ourselves. So if one is in full Krishna consciousness and one's life is devoted to Krishna's transcendental service, that is perfection. That is perfect life. So this nimitta matram, indeed, this the verse where Krishna is telling Arjuna to become his servant. That's 1133. So in that verse, nimitta matram, just become the cause, become my devoted instrument. So spirituality is not about giving up our individuality. It's about realizing ourselves, our true identity. And people we hear, I just want to be myself. I want others to take me for what I am. We hear this, we may even say it. And okay, that's good. But we should not be our lower self, propelled by the impure mind and senses. We should become our fully purified higher self. Just like we all sometimes consider the higher level of bhakti as acting in spontaneous devotion. But that spontaneity does not actually come spontaneously. No, it requires days, months, years of arduous practice. And in doing so, free will is not lost in this effort. We use our free will properly to become the Lord's instrument. Our anarthas can make us strangers to ourselves, acting and speaking in a way that's not appropriate for pleasing the Lord or his devotees. So Arjuna is also experiencing, how is it that one acts in a contrary manner, even knowing it's faulty? That lust, anger, greed, envy. We know that's not good. The clinging shadows that adorn pride. So the question of Brahma, how the Lord manifests, is how. His question is how the Lord manifests in relationship to himself. And the atheists try to say there's an evolution of how people relate to God. But then the atheists deny God. Then there is a faulty I am God concept that morphs over, like there was a t-shirt. I was an atheist until I discovered that I was God. So first you're denying God and then, oh, yeah, I'm God. This is, faulty conception, misguided conception. We can understand philosophy. Philosophy it's more than just a book. Just like there's this wonderful book that was compiled with Srila Prabhupada and devotees like Hayagriva and Shamsundar and others debating philosophy from different Western philosophers' point of view. And they made a nice book, Dialectic Spiritualism. But the philosophy is more than just a book. It's a body of knowledge. And philosophy, if it's authentic, should be able to answer the basic questions of life, which are at the heart of philosophy. So we must see how the questions of life are answered. And sometimes it can be radically diverse. It can appear to be opposed. If we take oneness, so there's oneness, but within that oneness, there is variety. And that is our position as Krishna Bhaktas. God is radically different from this world. The Bible isn't a philosophy. It's actually two books, the Old and New Testaments, that detail certain events. Like the Old Testament is lives of the chosen people prior to the advent of Christ. And then the life of Jesus, his parables and instructions in the Second Testament. But neither are systematic themes of philosophy. So this verse for the Bhagavatam, this verse that is being discussed, is the relation between the absolute truth and the rest of the world. And a continuing question that just comes up, why does God allow evil to occur? I mean, misery is undeniable. There's a radical disconnect between the absolute and the truth. The potential effect of the cause is present in the absolute truth. Everything is there. The suffering that we experience in present is due to our separating ourselves from the Lord. In this verse, Krishna is speaking of time, be it past, present, or future, in all circumstance. It is He who is existing. Thinking of anything separate from the Lord is the cause of our suffering. In the introduction of Nectar of Devotion, it is expressed how the absolute truth is Krishna, and everything in relation to Krishna. Everything is in relation to Krishna. Krishna is the absolute truth manifest as a person and everything else that exists. So then, when some people foolishly, they'll ask, who created God? That's such a misconception. It's like asking how to make a square circle. Two different things. Krishna, the cause of all causes. It's incoherent to think that someone could create the Lord. The Lord exists outside of the time domain. So ontologically speaking, nature of existence, Krishna is manifest in past, present, and future. And the emphasis of the Bhagavatam, Krishna is the source of the eternal, unchanging reality, the absolute truth. And the fundamental difference between spiritual to material is that absolute is perfect. From more, less come, and from less, more has come. Big difference. The content and context determine existence. I'm sorry, the essence. The context and the content, they determine essence. So the context in the Bhagavatam is a conversation in the form of stories, and it morphs into a biography of the universe. And Brahmaji, from ignorance to transcendence. So God is connected to the world, and the effect is his presence in the cause. The Lord exists outside chronology and time. We are not all God. God is everything, but everything is not God. That is short, a short version. So, yes. Again, the verse, it's a beautiful verse. This Aham evasam evagre nanyayat sarasat param paskaraham yaritakchayo vashisyete somyaham. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who is existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, which remains, will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So, a few words on that verse, which is, you can say it's one of the essential and verses, and it's the essence, a verse of essence. So, anybody has some questions or some input, because that verse is, it's like quite, clear, and yet it's just way over our heads. We're like these little Brahmas in the dark, and every once in a while, a shooting star goes by. We try to grab it and understand it.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother, for speaking. I was wondering how you're going to speak on this text because it's like Sri Prabhupada spoke the entire philosophy in
Yeah.
this text. Very, very detailed. And you did amazing, of course, as usual. So, dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations you would like to share, you indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to speak.
I also want to. I also want to
Okay, go
share
ahead.
something.
Yeah,
When I come to one of these, like I call them mega mahaverse,
yeah.
I have to take help. And so I look first, what has Prabhupada said beyond the purport, if he said anything? And also I look, what have the advanced Vaishnavas, what have they said?
Uh,
And, now we have so many advanced Vaishnavas. They're not all Prabhupada disciples. There's some very heavily advanced, you could say the junior disciples to us. So I looked at him. So one of those persons is Chaitanya Sharan.
yes.
So he helped me unknowingly. He helped me with this verse. I looked up. What does he have to say?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, Chaitanya Sharan Prabhu is so lovely. We all admire and listen to him very intently. But I was pleasantly surprised to come across a statement Sri Prabhupada made in the purport because I had read it before and I was trying to look for it and I couldn't figure out how to look for it. And here it is. We read from the 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy names of the Lord
Yeah,
that to consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the holy name of Lord Vishnu. But
yeah,
here in the purport, Sri Prabhupada uh, referred to Lord Vishnu as a demigod, and it's kind of surprising to me if you may help with that.
yeah. Let me pull up the
Yeah, let me.
I have it right here. I've
Okay,
got it.
okay.
Um, Demigods like Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Indra, Shantara.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're just going to have to leave it at this being a very. Um, if you take it in context that Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna,
Mm,
is the ultimate Adi Purush, Adi, the ultimate,
mhm.
then you might say that the different other forms of Krishna, through the Vishnu forms, um, are considering those undoubtedly different forms of the Lord for execution, different functions. So Vishnu, he doesn't come playing a flute. He has different functions. Mahavishnu has a function, and that's explained right. They are undoubtedly different forms of the Lord of different functions. So in that way, there's the explanation. And Govindam Adipushan, Krishna, with playing on his flute, he just comes, for the pleasure of his devotees. And the other aspects of Vishnu provide different forms or different activities of the Lord for the different functions. It's like Mahavishnu, he breathes in and everything disappears, and then he exhales and it all comes out again. You know,
Mm,
different energies. So that is what you have to keep in mind. Otherwise, we are kind of thinking black and white about the demigods also.
mm.
But the demigods are there for the pleasure of the Lord to assist him in his different activities. And the top among them, you might say, would be Vishnu.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the explanation, Mother. Um, yeah, it was kind of confusing to me when I first read it and again came across it today. But thank you for the explanation. Um, does anyone have something to ask or to share? The pepper was very, very much loaded.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yes, Krishna. Well, thank you so much for speaking on Lord Jesus Christ, because lots of us, that's our beginning of Krishna consciousness. Most of us were Christians before we became Hare Krishnas.
Yes, yes. So therefore, Prabhupada said, Lord Christ is the perfect Son of God, and I want that all my disciples become Christ-like. Not that we become Christ, but we become like him. And what was his signature? Was his humility.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mother. Thakur Murari Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
So Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. And all goes to the lotus faces of the moon-like faces of the devotees. And Mataji, thanks again for your wonderful presentation. And as usual, when the purports are long, you do have a lot of nectar to digest. So thank you again for your, yes. And
but
also,
the wonderful thing on this kind of digestion, you're not going to have acid reflux, you're not going to have indigestion.
No indigestion.
Yes, no indigestion, yes. Also, a very important statement. Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna, So
yes.
It's usually when I see it, I say, hey, that you could meditate on it for the rest of your life. Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. So it goes deeper because it's a deep statement, but it goes deeper. So thanks again for the presentation.
Hare Krishna. So I'll say goodbye to everyone now because today is kind of a packed day for me.
Okay.
And so I have to move on to my next appointment. And I always because I only found out a couple days ago, or maybe it was 3 days ago, that Srivas just shot it out. He goes, I hope this works. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like in less than 3 days. Okay, I'll do my best.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mother, for being here. And we pray and hope to have your association again and again and again. So, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our dear and revered auntie, Grace Mother Malati Devi.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Anastakoti Vaisharindi ki jai.
Grace Mother Malati Devi Dasi ki.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki.